Under the crackling of VHS tapes, we burst into Pop Taste, a project about the evolution of entertainment culture. We'll explore the nostalgic charm of the 90s, a decade that served as a bridge between the old world of analog technology and the digital revolution. My name is Lamski, and for the foreseeable future, I'll be your guide through the movies, animation, games, and other fascinating creations that 1990 gifted us.
Konnichiwa, konnichiwa, Super Famicom.
During the 80s, the console industry solidified a formula that remains in use to this day, and responsible for this reformation was a single console, the Nintendo Entertainment System, also known as the Famicom in Japan. A business model focused on cartridge sales, a new licensing system, and a marketing campaign centered on popular mascots. All of these were the contributions of the first NES. Nintendo and Mario became true symbols of video games, but competition was just a matter of time. 8-bits no longer amazed anyone, especially with competitors like NEC's PC Engine and Sega's Mega Drive on the horizon. So, in 1990, Nintendo introduced its 16-bit Super Famicom to the console arena. In Japan, the launch was triumphant, turning into a national event so significant that many people skipped work, prompting the Japanese government to ask gaming corporations to schedule future releases for weekends only. Moreover, the demand for the Super Famicom wasn't limited to ordinary workers. Even the mafia wanted it. The Yakuza intercepted console shipments, forcing logistics to operate strictly during daytime hours. The flashy term Next Gen perfectly described its simplicity. It was the Famicom, but super. With a 16-bit chip, an advanced graphics processor capable of rotating and stretching sprites and backgrounds, and a powerful Sony sound processor developed by Ken Kutaragi, the future father of the PlayStation, the Super Famicom was packed with technology. It also allowed for hardware upgrades without the need for add-ons. Key chips were built directly into the games themselves. For instance, the Super FX processor in the Star Fox cartridge enabled players to experience real 3D polygonal graphics. Primitive, but groundbreaking.
They go to the next level when you...
Yet visuals were only half the story. The true legacy of the NES lay in sequels to its already popular franchises, both from Nintendo and third-party publishers who maintained partnerships with the company. On its first day, the Super Famicom launched with the vibrant Super Mario World and the futuristic Racer F-Zero, which showcased the console's capabilities.
Wow, that's fast.
The Super Famicom's greatest challenge, however, awaited the following year when it debuted in the US as the Super Nintendo.
Superpower.
Unlike the NES, which had launched in a market devoid of competition, the SNES faced an aggressive and mega-driven rival in Sega. The clash between Sega and Nintendo in America marked the start of a fierce console war.
Merry Christmas, little fella. We know that you're in there and that you're all alone.
It's Santa Claus.
During the filming of Home Alone, no one expected it to become a global Christmas classic. They didn't even count on it appealing to its target family audience. After all, how could a loving family leave a child home alone on Christmas Eve? Half of the film's runtime is spent justifying this idea and delivering one Christmas miracle after another. Only with a miraculous actor could audiences truly believe in this childhood fantasy teetering on the edge of a nightmare.
A lovely cheese pizza just for me.
Screenwriter John Hughes had already noticed Macaulay Culkin in his recent film Uncle Buck. In that movie, Culkin's character was already home alone, conducting a business-like interrogation of a babysitter before letting her inside. With just a spark in his eyes, the boy could convey a smile, hurt feelings, mistrust, or genuine wonder. His performance captivated even adult viewers.
How may I help you?
Is this toothbrush approved by the American Dental Association?
Young Kevin is angry at his large family and wishes never to see them again. The next morning, his wish comes true, and after a brief, euphoric moment, he's forced to grow up and defend his home from fearsome burglars who, as it turns out, are punching bags. Years later, director Chris Columbus noted that what made the film intriguing was its combination of Looney Tunes-styled slapstick with a child's fear of robbers. The visual comedy skillfully takes viewers on an emotional roller coaster, from cringing and sympathizing to explosive laughter. This is perfectly complemented by the grumbling and absurdity of the wet bandits. Themes of Christmas and the importance of family resonated with millions of viewers for years to come. While the movie isn't directly about the holiday, every frame feels soaked in mulled wine and hot cocoa with cinnamon. All the costumes and set designs feature red and green tones, while composer John Williams wove a musical tapestry of everything Christmas by drawing on Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker and church motifs. An important ornament in Home Alone was Old Man Marley. He wasn't part of the original script, but Columbus felt the film lacked an emotional core, a character who could share Kevin's and the audience's feelings of loneliness during the holidays.
If you miss him, why don't you call him?
I'm afraid if I call him, he won't talk to me.
How do you know?
I don't know. I'm just afraid he won't.
No offense, but aren't you a little old to be afraid?
You can be a little old for a lot of things. You're never too old to be afraid.
The film's success made Macaulay Culkin a millionaire and the most recognizable child on Earth. But the life he never chose inflicted deep psychological wounds. His abusive father exploited him for work hours, robbing him and his siblings of their childhood, only to disappear as soon as Macaulay gained access to his millions. The world watched his growth through the lens of tabloid gossip as he tried to navigate his life. After overcoming these crises, Macaulay later fondly recalled Home Alone, appearing as a guest on the Angry Video Game Nerd channel, and even starred in a Google ad parody of the film. The comedy about an inventive kid became a global phenomenon. Dozens of parodies aired on TV and in movies, and public adoration was so intense that the sequel, essentially repeating the plot and gags of the original, was met with nothing but enthusiasm, cementing its status as a Christmas classic.
That the camera takes may well not be the picture that we end up seeing in newspapers and magazines. Technology makes it difficult, maybe even impossible, to tell what's real and what's not.
The camera never lies, says a popular saying. Strangely enough, humanity began challenging this notion almost immediately after the invention of photo and video recording. But it wasn't until 1990 that the culture of retouched images gained its main stronghold and symbol, the legendary and infamous Photoshop. Attempts to manipulate images started even in the film photography era. Skilled photographers painted and combined negatives, added details by hand, and played with exposure. Digital technology brought new possibilities for retouching. For example, Polaroid developed a technology for digitizing film, allowing for subsequent image editing. However, the program had limited functionality and required an entire computer lab with trained operators to run. The idea of a convenient yet powerful graphic editor came to the mind of a Michigan student, Thomas Knoll. In 1987, he developed a program called Display, which allowed manipulation of color schemes and the application of effects to images. The experimental software might have remained just a student project if it weren't for Thomas's brother, John. John, a professional special effects artist working at none other than George Lucas's Industrial Light and Magic in Hollywood, saw great potential in his brother's work. Together, they refined the simple program into a fully functional image editor. In 1988, the Knoll brothers sold the rights to their program to Adobe Systems, and only then did the groundbreaking software acquire its iconic name, Photoshop. The combination of rich functionality and ease of use made Photoshop an instant hit. Everyone from Hollywood professionals to school kids began cropping, zooming, mirroring, erasing, and stretching images. The program's capabilities were especially appreciated in the entertainment industry. Photos of celebrities were heavily photoshopped first for print and decades later for social media posts. In the world of online simulacra, a graphic editor can replace a diet, a cosmetologist, and even a plastic surgeon. Over subsequent versions, Photoshop not only became more popular, but also turned into a generic term for any image manipulation and cemented its place in humanity's cultural heritage.
I really don't have anything to offer you guys except for frozen pizza.
Let's go for it!
In March 1990, fans of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles received a very pleasant surprise. Pleasant because someone dared to risk adapting a franchise that was unconventional for its time, and surprising because most fans of the Turtles were young viewers of the 1987 animated series who weren't expecting what the movie would show them. The film was closer to its original source, a gritty and dark comic that copied certain scenes and atmospheres almost verbatim, but it was spiced with the bright, already iconic elements of the cartoon designed to sell toys. Colorful masks, rounded, cute designs, pizza, in short, everything associated with the Turtles themselves, otherwise especially in the environment. The stark contrast was striking. Dirty, dark New York back alleys, cluttered sewers, everything greasy, wet from rain, slimy and unsanitary. It exuded the charm of films of that era. No one in the city noticed the growing juvenile crime rate. Misunderstood teenagers rebelled against their parents, skipped school, listened to music on headphones, smoked, gambled, and became recruits of the underground fight club run by the Foot Clan. Meanwhile, on the other side of the sewer grate, under the influence of mutagen, another group of teenagers emerged, equally rejected by society. Unless, of course, they dressed in trench coats, then everything was fine. With the help of TV reporter April O'Neil, the Turtles must uncover who is behind the mysterious ninja organization and save their mentor, Splinter. The animatronic mutant costumes were cutting edge at the time and still look more convincing than other on-screen adaptations. In 1990, no one joked or commented that Michelangelo looked like Shrek, as in Michael Bay's film. This was thanks to Jim Henson's workshop, the puppeteer and creator of Kermit the Frog. The Turtles were his most technologically advanced and sadly his last project. The costumes were brought to life by martial artists, voice actors, and remote control operators, delivering dynamic action and genuine emotions.
Clouds the mind. Turned inward, it is an unconquerable enemy.
The actors and costumes also bounced jokes off each other more naturally, seamlessly blending the drama with the cartoonish turtle humor. Upon release, the film sparked many debates. Parents took their kids expecting a cartoon-like movie where calling someone turtle soup was the harshest insult, only to find a grimy film where kids smoked, fought, got electrocuted, and burned. And Casey Jones was a bloodthirsty psychopath who crushed Shredder in a garbage truck. Well, at least until the sequel. Perhaps they should have taken their kids to live musical of the same year, sponsored by Pizza Hut. There, all the violence and ninjutsu were replaced by the power of music, and Shredder rapped about how much he hated it. Critics weren't thrilled about the movie, but its insane box office success and fan love paved the way for sequels and cemented the Turtles as a pop culture phenomenon. The short episodes of the eccentric Englishman Mr. Bean were first broadcast on British television on the very first day of 1990. Mr. Bean, who had no first name, is instantly recognizable by his signature gray tweed jacket, red tie, beloved teddy bear, and quirky minicar. In each episode, Bean silently goes about everyday activities, swimming at the pool, shopping, dining at a restaurant, or stuffing a turkey for Christmas. Yet everything he does is hilariously absurd, accompanied by the outstanding facial expressions of comedic actor Rowan Atkinson, who has embodied this character so deeply over the decades that it's difficult to imagine him in any other role. Mr. Bean's humor is universally understood without words, making him beloved by audiences worldwide. Atkinson conceived the iconic character while in college and honed it over the years through various roles. A Bean-like character appeared in a 1976 sketch from Canned Laughter.
Hi, Lorraine.
And the recognizable facial expressions could also be seen in a 1987 performance where Atkinson played a sign language interpreter for a news broadcast.
Which have been frustrating the Americans.
The original Mr. Bean series consisted of only 15 episodes, with a few additional sketches exclusive to VHS releases. Despite the brief run, the character gained massive popularity and continued to thrive beyond the show. 2 feature-length films and nearly 150 episodes of an animated series were later released, hinting that Bean might not even be human, but rather an emissary of an alien race. Atkinson also brought Mr. Bean to countless commercials, music videos, and comedy shows.
Oh no, wait, no!
Perhaps the pinnacle of the character's legacy was his appearance at the opening ceremony of the 2012 London Olympics. Mr. Bean left a bright mark in the comedy world, with echoes of his style appearing in modern media. For instance, the dynamic between Sheldon Cooper and Amy in The Big Bang Theory mirrors Bean's relationship with his fiancée. Even Friends borrowed a gag featuring a turkey on someone's head, almost identical to one from Mr. Bean.
And 11:30 a.m., February 24th. Entering the town of Twin Peaks. It's 5 miles south of the Canadian border, 12 miles west of the state line.
A secluded town hidden deep in the woods, where everyone knows each other, and nothing is what it seems. This setting, now common in films, TV shows, and games, owes its existence to one groundbreaking title. In 1990, David Lynch and Mark Frost's show revolutionized television. By the late 1980s, Lynch was already a well-known film director. At the time, he and Frost were writing a biopic about Marilyn Monroe and the darker aspects of her life. The project was eventually shelved, but the two were persuaded to create a show for ABC instead. In an era when it was uncommon for Hollywood directors to transition to TV, Lynch seized the opportunity to experiment. Combining the best elements of cinema, quality, production, dynamic camera work, and auteur vision with the serial storytelling of television, Twin Peaks became both an experiment and a captivating experience for viewers. The show grabbed audiences from the very first moment.
I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Every day, once a day.
A beautiful young woman's body washed up on the shores of a misty lake. News of the tragedy quickly spreads through the town, and an investigation begins, led by the quirky yet charming FBI agent Dale Cooper. The plot unfolds slowly, revealing the dark secrets of the seemingly idyllic town. Lynch, no stranger to exposing the hidden rot beneath the surface of American suburbia, as seen in Blue Velvet, took this concept even further. The character of Laura Palmer, the murdered girl, was inspired by Lynch and Frost's abandoned Monroe biopic. As the investigation progressed, the innocent image of Laura unraveled, revealing a darker, more twisted reality. It turned out that nearly every resident of Twin Peaks had a hidden secret. From the friendly sheriff to the trucker next door to the charming diner waitress, every frame contained hints, clues, and new mysteries, pulling viewers deeper into the narrative. The high level of ambiguity made Twin Peaks far more engaging than the soap operas and detective shows of the time. Journalists later coined the term water cooler effect in reference to Twin Peaks. The show's endless riddles became a frequent topic of discussion during office breaks, creating a buzz. Millions eagerly awaited and discussed each new episode with the question, who killed Laura Palmer, becoming a cultural phenomenon. Twin Peaks defied categorization, blending elements of detective stories, mystery, soap operas, and even sitcoms.
Oh, Nancy Dawson, Dozy Dawson, little Lamsy Divey, a kiddly divey too, wouldn't you? Oh, Nancy Dawson, Dozy Dawson, little Lamsy Divey, a kiddly divey too.
It broke, mocked, or reinvented television cliches, earning its place as one of the first postmodern TV shows. Unfortunately, by the second season, the unpredictable nature of the show began to backfire. Under pressure from fans, the creators reveal Laura's killer, and the plot began to resemble the very soap operas Lynch initially parodied. After a melodramatic second season, the show was canceled, but its legacy remained deeply ingrained in popular culture. In the 90s and 2000s, television shows became bolder, more mysterious and cinematic, shedding their second-rate stigma. To understand Twin Peaks' influence, look no further than Gravity Falls, Stranger Things, Alan Wake, Deadly Premonition, and countless other tales of big mysteries in small towns. The pottery scene from the movie Ghosts did for romantic films what Neo's bullet dodging in The Matrix did for action movies. Over the past 30 years, who hasn't parodied it? The Simpsons, Family Guy, Snoop Dogg, and even the show community poking fun at how overused the joke is through a pottery teacher who considers Patrick Swayze worse than Voldemort. Never before had pottery been so intimate. However, it wasn't just the erotic metaphor of the clay column that became iconic. The movie itself did. In that short but sensual episode, we see the closeness of Molly and Sam, who have just moved in together and are settling into their lives. And all this happens just seconds before Patrick Swayze's character decides to cosplay Batman's parents in a dark alley. What did you expect? The movie's called Ghost. Sam, now a ghost, is tethered to this earthly plane for some reason, but it's unclear why. Is it his love for Molly, a thirst for revenge against the murderous stranger, or perhaps the millions of dollars sitting in his client's account waiting to be transferred from his office computer? Sam must adapt to his new ghostly form to figure it out. He learns to walk through walls, move objects like a poltergeist, and even possesses people, all to save Molly from danger and keep us from crying our eyes out, as any hope for romance or a happy ending seems dashed by the first act. The movie topped the box office in 1990, earning $500 million on a $23 million budget. One of the reasons for its success was Patrick Swayze, an action thriller superstar of recent years who took a complete turn in his career. Despite his resemblance to the typical Hollywood macho man, his colleagues described him as a gentle giant with poetry in his heart. Swayze was frustrated that no one took him seriously as an actor, and that none of his previous roles allowed him to connect with the audience on a deeper level, until he auditioned for Ghost and moved everyone to tears. The role fit him perfectly, and the challenge of playing someone who can only react and barely influence events was pure acting, just as he had dreamed of. Another reason for the film's success was its genre-bending nature. It was like a cinematic buffet for all tastes, if buffets stayed hot and fresh for a full 2 hours. Those indifferent to romance could come for the gripping supernatural elements. Others might be drawn to solving the murder mystery or laughing alongside Whoopi Goldberg, whose con artist psychic stumbles through a bank heist under the ghost's guidance.
Well, Rita, it looks like you'll be withdrawing $4 million from us today.
$4 million?
Say yes. Say yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Even the horror elements were done tastefully, like the expertly hidden jump scares or the chilling scenes of sinners being dragged to hell, which everyone had parodied at some point. Ghost had something for everyone, granting the creators an emotional carte blanche to delve into tear-jerking conversations about grief and the eternity of love. People kept returning to the theater for those raw, heartfelt emotions. Let me know in the comments what impacted you the most, and I will see you in the next episode, where I will dive into 1991 with the same enthusiasm. See you in popular taste.